Disclaimer. Any of the guidance offered by the podcast host, myself, or the podcast guests is our own guidance. We are not liable for any of the actions the podcast listener decides to do. Welcome back to the podcast today with me, Johnny Pardo. And today I welcome Dr. Mike Ronsisvalle, and I'm excited to bring Dr. Mike onto the show today. So a quick introduction to Dr. Mike. Dr. Mike Ronsisvalle is a licensed psychologist and CEO of LiveWell, behavioral health and LiveWell coaching, with over 20 years experience and close to 35,000 hours of face-to-face contact with clients in his LiveWell clinics. Dr. Mike will offer solutions to help you get healthy, stay healthy, and live well. Welcome to the show today, Dr.
Johnny, what's happening? Thanks for having me.
Pleasure. Glad we can make it happen. Yeah, I'd love to. You're doing a lot of great stuff in the world, I perceive, and like helping people get healthy, really working through a lot. What is your drive behind helping people? I know we were talking a little bit behind the show, but yeah, I'd love to hear a little bit about what is your drive to help people in this way.
Yeah, it's a good question, Johnny. People go into this field for different reasons. For me, it's about passion. I mean, it really is. I look around at our world, and especially kids. I look at adolescent culture, teen culture, and man, people are struggling. They're struggling more than I've ever seen it in my entire career. And I've been at this for over 20 years now. Never seen people in a position where they have the amount and acuity of mental health issues that we're seeing right now. So it's kind of it's a no-brainer for me, Johnny. It's not like I get up every day and I say, oh man, I've got to go figure out how to help people and what are we going to do? And it's more for me like I get to go be a part of the solution, because you look at that tidal wave of brokenness that's just like coming at us, man. Our field can't handle how difficult everyone is dealing with their life and with the struggle of everyday life and the grind of everyday life. For me to get to be a part of the solution, super exciting. So that's kind of what drives me. It's why I do what I do.
That's amazing. Being part of the solution. You can tell there's a lot of passion behind you there, Mike, Dr. Mike, as well. That's amazing. So I'd love to know a little bit more. You were telling, obviously you've told me, and there's LiveWells out there, but for the listener who's maybe not as familiar on LiveWell, can you tell us a little bit about what you do? Because I know you help people in various ways.
Yeah. Johnny, I've been doing psychotherapy and testing with people for a long time. Like you said, 35,000 hours. That's kind of a crazy number. We added that up a few months ago. I was like, good gosh, that's a lot of time face to face with people. And what I've experienced over time is I've connected with other people that have a like mind. They're passionate about being part of the solution the same way I am. And because of that, we've just found strategic partners, people that could just join our team at LiveWell that have the same kind of passion and they operate with excellence. So LiveWell is basically, it's just psychological services clinics. That's what we do primarily. And so we've got psychiatrists and psychiatric nurses that are managing medication. We've got licensed mental health counselors and licensed marriage and family therapists and licensed psychologists that are working with people, adolescents, young people, adults, families, couples, older adults. We do testing. We do transcranial magnetic stimulation of the brain. I can tell you a little bit more about that later on. That's for treatment-resistant depression. So it helps people that have failed on medications for years and years and years. We see them get better with this direct stimulation of the brain. We do intensive treatments, and that's probably one of the most significant things your viewers are interested in, is we treat people from all over the world. They fly in and they can do 3 and 4 days intensives with us. We also do intensive outpatient programs where we treat one person for 9, 10, 12, 15 hours a week. And we lean into all these empirically validated treatments that actually work to help people get better. And so for me, that's the biggest thing that sets LiveWell apart from a lot of other clinics, is we pride ourselves on creating innovative treatments that help people get better. We also have, this is probably important for me to say, at this point, we have a digital platform called LiveWell Coaching that I'm really passionate about, Johnny. Maybe we'll talk about this later on in the podcast, but I don't like the idea that people have to come to a clinic or an office to get help. It's just not accessible to a lot of people. We're all grinding away at our lives. So we have created Live Well Coaching, which is a digital platform where people can access information that will help them get healthy and stay healthy anywhere in the world. So you can get on our Live Well Coaching platform and get lots of information from me and my team about how to manage depression and anxiety and stress and OCD and emotional intelligence and relationships and you name it, man. We've done content on Live Well Coaching platform that helps people develop coping skills that are very relevant and practical to their everyday life. So that's who I am, man. That's what I'm passionate about. That's why I work with people every day to help them get from where they're at to where they want to be.
Wow, lot to offer people out there. The digital thing is really useful for those not local as well to you. Yep. Yeah, like you said. What do you think? You mentioned right at the start about you seeing more of these like challenges in people with like mental health. Are there any things you feel like is kind of the cause of that, or why we've seen the rise a lot more?
Man, Johnny, you're asking the right questions. That's the right question to ask because we are seeing acuity, like the severity of issues go way, way up. And we thought it was just COVID, right? I'll be honest with you. My whole field thought after COVID, we'll see all this depression die down. We'll see the anxiety kind of come back to the mean. And we've seen the opposite. Actually, instead of things kind of regressing back to the mean and getting back to normal, people continue to feel worse. They continue to struggle with mental health issues and in ways that they never had before. So I have thought a lot about why, like what is the cause? And it's a few different things. Number one, it's just kind of a cliche, but it's real. It's reality. Technology is hard. But like the way we're living with technology and how we're bombarded with technology is just not how we were created to live, man. So we've got access to unlimited information. Like if I want to know something about anything, I find the answer. I don't know if you're like that, but if I'm sitting around with my family or friends and a question comes up like, how big is the country of France anyways? No, I don't just sit there and let that question go unanswered. I get on my phone and I ask ChatGPT or I Google it or whatever. I'm going to find an answer. And that's awesome. It's an amazing part of living in this incredible world that we live in right now. But it's also been the very thing that has primed our brains to become more anxious and depressed because your brain interprets constant stimulation, that kind of stimulation, it's always there and it's always on. It interprets it as threat. And so what's happened is the amygdala, which is the part of the brain that is responsible for fear threat. It's like the size of an almond, man. It's a very small structure in the brain. It's next to the parts of the brain that control, respiration, heart rate, sex drive, hunger, like these really sort of core things to humanity. Right there in the middle of all that, it's this amygdala. It's where fear lives. And that part of the brain is blowing up when technology is coming at us minute by minute, second by second. And as that part of the brain is activated, the frontal lobe shuts down. The frontal lobe is the part of the brain that controls judgment, reasoning, if-then contingencies. If I do this now, this happens later. It's where creativity lives. It's where hope lives, Johnny. It's like the part of our brain that kind of gives us hope for the future. All of that ceases to be active, and we're trying to kind of live out of this squirrel brain in the back of our brain, this fear threat mode. And so in my estimation, I think that's the core of what has happened to us over the past decade, maybe decade and a half. And the data bears that out, man. People that are exposed to more technology consistently deal with more significant mental health problems.
That's, that's a very, very powerful one. Like so much information we're bombarded. I certainly can get caught in it. Oh my God, when I don't catch myself sort of looking too much at information and not shutting down, not resting. Yeah. That's really, how do you kind of like reduce that, or how do you kind of move through that when there's like so much information? There's any kind of techniques or things you feel can help people with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's look at what that constant exposure to technology is actually doing. What it does is it sort of created this world where we are running with zero margin. I mean, think about it. We have hardly any time. We have zero margin in our schedule. We have a lot of people have zero margin in their finances. A lot of people have zero margin in their relationships. Like they have no space to just be. And so that technology has ripped away the ability for us to just have a decent cadence and rhythm to our life. So the answer to that, the antidote to all of the stress and the busyness of our life and the grind of 2025 is to recreate some of the slower paced cadence that we grew up with. At least that's how I grew up, Johnny. I grew up in Central Florida on a citrus farm. Like that, I know that kind of sounds like a weird thing. I'm like some farm boy. It was wild. I mean, it's thousands of acres of orange trees and there was no one around, man. So I spent all this time outside. I was riding my bike. I was riding a motorcycle. I was shooting, BB guns and, just anything I could do to try to not be bored. Essentially, that was kind of my life when I was a kid. And that experience, if we could replicate that right now, that's the kind of thing that gets people healthy. So let's translate my experience growing up into modern day sort of functioning in the face of this technology grind. Get your body moving. Like get your body moving. A lot of people sit for hours and hours and hours and they never move all day long. Another thing would be find nature. Like get yourself in a position where you're walking outside every hour for 5 minutes and just letting the sun shine on your face. There's some research now about like the power of morning sunlight to manage circadian rhythms and even sleep wake cycles. So when you get up in the morning, rather than just look at your phone, I guarantee you most people, the first thing you do when you wake up is you look at your phone, check my email, or worse yet, let's see what's happening on Twitter or X. Let's just see, because I've been asleep, so I should really figure this out. And it's the opposite of what we need to do. Like the first thing you should do when you wake up is put your shoes on and walk outside and get morning sunlight in your eyes for 10, 15 minutes. So that kind of cadence with our life, Johnny, is the very thing that is the antidote for the technology that wants us to put our nose to the grindstone 24/7. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. Getting into the more natural way of living than this kind of bombarding of information by looking
Yeah.
at your phone first thing. Crazy.
Yeah, and the cool part is it's not like you have to surrender technology in order to be healthy. And we found this in our clinics, and that this is very clear to me. You don't have to become a monk, where you're just like, okay, I now spend, 30 hours a week meditating. It's not that. It's just alternating like the heavy work and heavy exposure to technology with moments where we just are resting our brain and our body, So it's like this, it's almost like a tide in the ocean. It needs to come and go. And it's very clear that when we combine heavy work with those kinds of mindful experiences that I was just describing, we end up being much more productive during our moments of concentrated work. So translation research shows if you take 5 minutes every hour and say, okay, I'm going to take 55 minutes and work really hard. And I'm going to write and I'm going to be creative, or I'm going to do the spreadsheet or whatever you do. And then when that 55 minutes is done, I'm going to use technology to my advantage. My phone's going to go off. I'm going to get up from this stupid desk I've been at for 55 minutes, and I'm going to walk at least up front to my office and actually talk to someone. Or I'm going to walk outside and I'm going to let the warm sun hit my face and the wind blowing my hair for just 60 seconds, 2 minutes. It's been proven you will get more done, much more done with the 55 minutes than you would have with the entire hour had you just grind through the whole hour. So we have to have a mindset shift in the way we approach our life and say, okay, we're never going to get away from technology. It's not the world we live in, but we can be proactive about just allowing ourselves to focus on balancing our life with like heavy work and relaxation. I go to the gym and I lift, 10 reps on the bench press, right? And then what do? I rest. And then once I rest a little bit, I can pop out 10 more reps, right? Then I rest. And if I try to just get on the bench and do 50 reps, I'd fail. By the time I get to 18, I'm done. I'm cooked, right? but I can do 10 at a time if I break it up with rest. And that's how we need to look at our lives with technology. Do technology, do it to the best of your ability. I love technology actually, but balance it with rest and breaks. And that's the very thing that will help you find freedom.
Yeah, not going in. You don't need to go and live in a cave away from everyone, but yeah, your kind of approach to technology. And I like the 55-5 you just suggested as well, and having those little breaks, so powerful.
It works, man. It works.
Yeah, wow. And the 5, not kind of more kind of mindful in those 5 minutes than scrolling your phone, I guess you mean.
Well, yeah, 100%. So you don't want to get from like heavy work to doom scrolling. It's like, that misses the point. I've got a buddy that works with me. He works a lot on our technology side. We have a lot of technology that we do at Live Well. So I'm not against it. So he runs a lot of that for us. And I'm telling you, Johnny, every hour he's walking out of the office with his skateboard, and he just like pumps that skateboard up and down 5-10 minutes. And I don't care.
So
I'm paying him to work for us. I couldn't care less, because when he comes back in, he's sweating. It's Florida, right? It's like not, I mean, this guy's like, just looks like he's taking a bath, jumped in a pool or something. But when he comes back in, he's ready and he can go for it for like an hour. So it works.
I love that skateboard. That's so cool. That's fun as well. So fun. Doing something fun for 5 minutes, which isn't doom scrolling. Yeah, wow. Exercise. It's a good one.
Yep.
I want to, I know we touched on obviously mental health and like some of the challenges, like with so much information being thrown at our brain and the amygdala. I always struggle with that word, by the way. I know exactly what it is, but I always struggle with the amygdala. Don't know why. But anyway, it's just one of my words. But yeah, I wanted to just talk about people's relationships with themselves and how they feel, because a lot of people in the world I've met, and including myself in the past, don't have a good relationship with themselves, and they don't like themselves, they don't love themselves as much as you would hope people love themselves. Mm-hmm. Do you think that's down to the information, or kind of another reason that people's relationships with themselves are not so great at times?
Yeah, it's good, Johnny. I'm glad you're bringing this up, because it would be naive to say that the only reason we're seeing this crisis of mental health is technology, because it's not. It's a part of it. But another piece is the way our culture is kind of organized right now. And you just hit the nail on the head. We're creating cultures that are very self-centered. We're very impressed with ourselves. We're very, very focused on our advancement. And look, that's all good. I think that that's great for people to have goals. We need to strive to be the best version of ourselves we can possibly be. I'm all about it. But what we've done is we've created contingencies where people define themselves in terms of their performance, or in terms of their ability to please other people or meet expectations. In psychology, we call this core beliefs. I'm a cognitive behavioral psychologist. This is a big part of my training. Core beliefs are those core beliefs you have about what makes you acceptable and worthwhile and significant and valuable and lovable. It's basically the message you send yourself about what makes you okay. And that core value system becomes the lens through which you see everything, any relationship, environment, any situation you come in contact with. You filter it through like this core belief that you have about you and your worth and your value. And man, we're living in cultures where people are so focused on, am I enough? Am I measuring up? And then we look at social media, we're like, well, I'm definitely not enough, and I'm definitely not measuring up. And we put ourselves in situations where we're only as good as our last win or loss, right? It's so dangerous, man. So if we have a good day, like let's say I do something, I write some article or I give some talk, and I get an email back, and the email's like, oh, Mike, that was amazing, great article. Thank you so much. It helped. Well, if I'm working on that assumption that my worth and value is based on other people and whether or not I please them and meet their expectations and perform really well, then that email, man, that gives me life. I love it. I'm feeling great. I'm having a great day. It's awesome. I'm telling my wife, hey, honey, look at this emails and this great people. People are getting a lot out of what I'm doing. Now, here's the problem. That's awesome when you get a good email. But we live in a broken world with a bunch of broken other people. So guess what? There's going to be days where I get an email where somebody's just eating my lunch. like that. I wrote some article the other day about, I don't know, some participation trophy or something. I just had some idea and I knocked out this article. I thought it was a great article, Johnny. This guy sent this email. It might have even been a comment on the place that published it. And they're like, this is so old news. This is ridiculous. I mean, the guy just hammered me. Well, what then? Well, now if I'm a success, if I met the mark and I got people's approval and I met the expectation, I'm now a failure because I didn't meet the mark and because I'm not enough. And what that does is it creates this real black and white thinking where we're awesome at certain points and we suck at certain points, and there's really not a lot of in between. And it's driven by this culture of really self-centeredness and narcissism where our worth and value is based on us versus what I believe is a much healthier way of viewing the world, which is I'm going to create a value system intentionally. And it's going to have very little to do with outcomes. And it's going to have a lot to do with process. So I'm just going to make stuff up, but it's kind of how I view the world. I'm valuable if I conduct myself with character and integrity, and I do my best to love people and just be a good guy and speak life into people. Let's just stop there, right? Like, what if those three things are my guiding principles? And I can say my best effort is enough. I don't care about outcomes. I care about whether or not I'm doing things that are consistent with my value system. And if my actions are consistent with my value system, I'm good. If my actions aren't consistent with my value system and someone points that out, I'm not going to be defensive. I'm just going to make adjustments, and I'm going to make sure that I've got committed actions connected to my value system. That whole sort of way of viewing the world, that core belief has now shifted, and my core understanding of who I am and what gives me worth and value has shifted. And I'm no longer only as good as my last win or loss. My worth and value is connected directly to my value system. And I control that. I can be intentional about that. And that just makes for a much healthier position in life. So yeah, I think we're talking, technology is a part of the crisis. We've also got these self-centered core beliefs that drive the crisis. There's just so many things right now, Johnny, that are combining to create where we're at.
I like what you said about the values and living from your values, because that's for me is in your control, whether you're living with your values. Whilst, like you said, you put out, you base your worth on like what someone's going to say about an article you put on. That's completely out of your hands. So I like coming back to the values. I love talking about values. How does someone go about finding what their values are?
So I think, Johnny, the key with values is to say, okay, when I step back and I look at my life and I look at kind of the moments when I have felt most fulfilled, most kind of connected to my purpose and my calling, and you can start to articulate, man, here's what was going on in my life in those moments. That's the moment you become more familiar with your real value system. And so it's that process where we step back and say, okay, what matters most? I remember back when I was a counselor at that camp when I was 16 years old, and I had a chance to speak into these kids, and I helped these kids learn how to water ski, whatever, all these moments that we have growing up and in our life where we can look back and say, that was valuable. Man, that's the way you begin to capture what's most important to you. And I think you combine that with just some things that I believe are universal. I think we can all agree that integrity. I think we can all agree that character. I think we can all agree that our ability to try to be a loving person. Those are things that probably transcend culture. They transcend, time and space, and universally, humans have valued those things. So if we put those two pieces together, we can start to arrive at the things that really matter to us. And to your point, we can be intentional with them. That we can step back and say, okay, in calm moments when I'm not stressed out and I'm not overwhelmed and I'm not hurt and I'm not rejected, none of that, what matters to me? And we begin to articulate it, write it down. That's when our values take on meaning.
Yeah. Feel for me, when I live a value, like for me, I really value authenticity and being real. When I'm like sharing something, like I did yesterday, actually, something very vulnerable with someone, I feel really alive, but it's like, when I'm doing something that doesn't quite feel, it's like, it feels it. So I I feel into it for mine. So yeah, I like what you said, kind of what comes up is going to be different for each person, of course, as well.
Yeah.
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 In that sense. There's a lot of obviously information like we've been talking about out there for the individual who's maybe like very overwhelmed with, but they're like, maybe they're a bit depressed, maybe they're a bit anxious, maybe a bit of both, and they're just not feeling in their best state at the moment. They're like, there's so much information out there, I don't know what to do, what the practice is, and they just get overwhelmed at the thought of looking for help. Have you got any guidance for that individual?
So you're asking, when someone gets really stressed and overwhelmed and they want help, where do they turn? Is that kind of the question?
Yeah, or in a sense of like, they're like no idea how to begin.
Yeah. So I think what I would say first is, as humans, we're wired for connection. Like, that's the reality, is there's something in us that craves connection with other people, and acceptance and love and value, right? We just want to be seen, right? So if your viewer or someone watching this is just super stressed out, overwhelmed, maybe even depressed, and they want to start, the first step is to tell somebody. It doesn't even have to be a professional counselor or a psychologist or a psychiatrist. Just find someone that's trusted, that you can say, okay, I'm going to start getting what's in here out on the table. And just those initial conversations, if you find a safe person, and they're out there, guys, if you find a safe person, just being able to expose what's going on inside of you is many times enough to help you begin to feel better. And that's been proven in the research over and over and over again. If it's not, then I think in relationship, in that connection, you can start to just process, okay, what steps can I start to take that will actually give me the information that I need to get healthy? Because if you need more than just connection, what you might be dealing with is just a lack of information, a lack of understanding about, the coping skills that you need to feel better. So you can start with trusted sources. That's huge. That's why we are so excited about our Live Well coaching platform, because, man, we curate all that information. There's nothing on Live Well coaching that I can't stand behind and say, okay, if you watched a video on anxiety, we did an anxiety detox a few months ago. It's like a challenge where every day for 14 days, we gave you one thing to do that will help you detox your anxiety. I can promise you one thing. The information that people got on that anxiety detox was grounded in science. It was backed by experience working with real clients in the clinical office. I trust it, man. And I can say, this is curated and it works. And that's a huge point, because you can't just go to Google or YouTube and just say, hey, I feel bad, help me feel better, because you never know what you're going to get. That's part of the issue with where we're at right now, is there's so much information out there in regard to mental health, and not much of it is curated, Johnny. A lot of it is just sort of like, people that have an idea or they have an experience, and here's what worked for me. But man, if you first reach out to someone, and then secondly, you say, okay, I do need some coping skills, make sure that the place you go for information is good, curated information that you can trust, science-backed, and it's evidence-based. And then thirdly, this might be your last line of defense, is you need to go see a clinician, go see somebody that does this all day, every day, that works with people, that can help you begin to work out your issues. So I think that a lot of times my field jumps straight to the third option, like, oh, someone's overwhelmed and stressed, you need therapy, go to 10 weeks of therapy and you'll feel better. And it's not that that's a bad thing. It's just that's not doable for everyone, and it takes a ton of time. I don't know about what it's like where you live, but I know in our communities, you can't just call and get an appointment with the counselor, right? That takes time, sometimes weeks. So, I don't want people to jump straight to number 3. I want them to jump initially to the things that can be quick. Like, man, how do I develop a relationship with someone that can care for me? How do I find information that'll help me build coping skills? And if you still need help, then okay, how do I connect with real services from people that I can trust?
I like those three options, and like you're saying, you can just reach out to a friend. Maybe that could be a starting point, and just talking to them. Like, I have people in my life, like if I want to talk through something, and there's people who come to me, and we might share things as well. So I like that
Yeah.
rather than, but getting a therapist or someone on your team or someone out there is also an option as well.
Yeah. And it's interesting you should bring this up, Johnny, because it kind of comes back to some of what we were talking about earlier with guys. Because I don't know, what do you think? I don't think guys are good at any of those three options, are they? Typically?
I think for me, it's kind of like learning the right people to share with over my time. Because you can be like misheard sometimes when someone's just not got that capacity to listen. But yeah, I think quite a lot of guys I know did have said they struggle to reach out a lot of the time.
I think it's something about just again like these cultural archetypes that we're playing out. Um, and yeah, men, I think we struggle in general with vulnerability. So everything that I just described, all three of those options are going to require you as a guy to kind of just admit, I have an issue. That doesn't make me a weenie or some weak guy. That actually there's strength in addressing emotions, and I don't know that as guys we really do that well in at least in Western culture.
I find men's groups has like been a game changer for me, being able to do that.
Really, just
Yeah.
sitting with other guys.
Yeah, sort of like guys in sort of a group and then kind of like you hold a space for one another. So yeah, it's powerful community.
Man, you're very lucky, Johnny, that you have that. And I can say that the overwhelming majority of guys that we have that are on our Live Well coaching platform or that come in our clinics, they don't have access to a group
Sure.
of men that are just ready to kind of get real. It just doesn't exist in their life. So they have to cultivate it, and you can, but it sounds like you've been able to do that. So that's awesome.
No, no. Wow, I'm glad they got the resources and finding in the great work you guys are doing. I'd love to know, Dr. Mike, is there, it sounds like I know the platform you're offering people have got all these different tools, these different approaches and very science-based or science-backed, like you said. For you personally, I'm just always interested, is there any kind of practices that you enjoy, like mentally and emotionally? Because some people like journaling, some people like meditation. I'm just always
Mhm.
curious.
So it's interesting. I kind of am going through a little bit of a transformation. The older I get, the more I'm starting to recognize the value of meditation and just calming everything down. Probably tell that's why I get kind of passionate when I start talking about technology, because I think what we're dealing with in our world is it's so running counter against this idea of just slowing everything down. So I've tried to be really intentional with that. Maybe the past year or so, Johnny, I got, you hear all the stuff about the ice baths. Have you heard that? So
Yeah.
I fell for it. I got one, and I got to tell you, it's freaking awesome. It's amazing. I mean, it really is. It has been a transformational process for me, and I don't know all the science behind it. I trust the people that do, which is why I got one. But just getting in a tub that's, you know, 40 degrees every morning. I do it every morning. And what it's helped me do is it's helped me sort of learn how to breathe. Because if you ever done an ice bath, John? Have you ever tried it?
Yeah, yeah.
You feel like you're dying. Like I remember the first time I did it, I thought, this is not right. Like something's wrong because my feet are they feel they're burning, and that's not right. And that's not healthy. I just started freaking out. But over time, what it's done is it's helped me sort of just learn how to kind of calm my brain and my body down when I'm doing this. Like for me, it's a really hard thing. And I don't know that I'm not encouraging everybody to go get a cold plunge, listen to other people and whether or not you make that decision. Listen to the medical doctors on that one. But for me, I think you can say there is value to slowing down, and there's value to kind of like just resting and contemplating and meditating. It's just really, really different for me because I've always thought it's, I don't know, touchy feely kind of. I felt like it was sort of it's such a psychologist thing to say. Well, I don't, I'm not about that. I want to be a more practical psychologist, but you just can't fight the reality of the world we live in and what actually works. And that works for me, works to slow everything down.
Slowing down, like it. On your platform, is there a lot of kind of guided meditations you offer as well?
Yeah, so we have entire videos and challenges devoted to things like gratitude and mindfulness. What I find is we tend to integrate mindfulness and like the idea of slowing everything down into almost every aspect of what we're doing, just because the science is there, right? So if the science is there, I feel like if we're going to be responsible practitioners, we've got to integrate it. So even if we're doing, like we did a course on marriage and healthy communication a few months ago. Even in that course, it became clear to me as my team was putting together the content that we needed to have moments where we said, okay, if you want to be a healthy communicator, you've got to calm your brain and your body down, especially in the heat of the moment in a difficult conversation. Simply because if you act out of that amygdala, like we were talking about earlier,
Mm.
you're going to react and you're going to do something that's not emotionally intelligent because you're not thinking. So, yes, we have a catalog of things that are just mindfulness scripts, but we also integrate that into almost every aspect of what we're doing.
Mm. I like it. Sounds like you've got so many resources for people and science back, like you said as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, Dr. Mike, I'd like to just hear a little bit about where, before we sort of wrap up, where the listener can find, just a reminder of your links, where the best place is for the listener to go for your, the digital resources you're putting out there, or the best place to connect with you.
Man, absolutely. So, Live Well Coaching is the most relevant platform that your listeners can access that's connected to Live Well. And so it's livewell-coaching.com. And on that platform, you can sign up for a free, basically, account where it gives you all kinds of information that's just, we want to give away, right? We just want to give people information that's going to help them live better and get healthy and stay healthy. But that will also prompt you to connect with our subscription. And that's really where I hope a lot of people land. I hope a lot of your listeners land there, Johnny, because the subscription, the membership, I guess I should say, is it gives you access to all of that content that we talked about. So on Mondays, we talk about depression. Tuesdays, we talk about anxiety. Wednesdays are wellness. Thursdays are addiction.
Mm.
Fridays are relationships. So to get that drop, if you're struggling with anxiety, let's say, and to know that every Tuesday there's going to be something specific to anxiety. It's just this, it's almost like an appointment with your therapist. There's a moment where I get the healthy stuff connected to my coping skills that I want to build for anxiety. So in addition to all that daily content, you get access to all of our challenges. Every month we do a challenge. This month we're doing a challenge on how to deal with difficult relatives and family members during the holidays. Like how cool is that? How often do we go home for the holidays? And it's like, man, it's the most stressful time of my year. Got to deal with all these people that I love, but they drive me crazy and stress me out. Well, we're doing a challenge every day for 7 days. We're going to give you something really quick and dirty that will help you say, okay, it's a video that helps me know what I'm going to do when I interface with these people that are sometimes really difficult. So you get access to our challenges every month. You would also get access to our courses on stress and depression, anxiety. If you want to connect with some like a human, we do have actual coaches, and coaching is not therapy. So know that you're not getting a therapist, but you would have someone that would help you use our platform and that would help you kind of understand like how to have the accountability and the affirmation and encouragement of a real human as you're working towards a wellness plan. So all that happens on Live Well Coaching. Man, I'm just excited that some of your viewers and listeners might be able to get some of the information that they need to get healthy and stay healthy.
Amazing, amazing resources you've got out there, Dr. Mike. So, yeah, all of those will be in the show notes below to get access to the membership and the resources. So just go in the show notes below, and the links are there. So, Dr. Mike, I want to say a massive thank you for coming on. Is there any final point or final words that you'd like to share with us today?
Man, I think the biggest thing for me, Johnny, for anyone listening, if you're struggling with mental health, or if you're someone that's just interested in it, you just want to be the best version of yourself you can possibly be. I go back to the idea that we don't live in a world where hope that we can change is very real. I mean, a lot of times people just get hopeless, like you lose traction. You feel like, man, I'm hitting my head against the wall and I'm back at some zero, and I've relapsed, or I'm anxious again, or I had another panic attack, or I had another fight with my spouse. Or I want you to understand that your experience is not unusual. It is not uncommon. We live in an awesome world, but man, it's complicated. And if there's anything you hear from me right now, I want you to hear this. It's that hope is real. Change is real. Progress is possible. And the only thing you've got to do to begin to instill hope in your heart again is just take small steps. Just do the next healthy thing. And maybe the next healthy thing is calling someone. Johnny's got a group of guys that he can hang out with and go to at any moment that he's struggling, man. He's got these people in his life that he can just be open and honest with. Maybe your first step is just saying, I'm going to call somebody. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, but do something, right? Maybe it's you're going to find resources. And if you want resources, I hope you try Live Well Coaching. I do, because I think it works. And I think it's a reflection of my heart for you, and that you get better. And then maybe you're just saying, I'm struggling enough to where I need therapy, and I want to get with someone that is a professional that can help me just work through this process. Whatever you decide to do, the biggest thing is to just do it. Just do it. Hope is real as long as you do your part. Just do the next healthy thing, and do it scared, and do it anxious, and do it, without being sure of the outcomes. And as you do it, recognize that's the first step that's ultimately going to yield the new you. And my hope for all of you is that you get healthy, and you stay healthy, and you live well. That's what we say at Live Well. So, Johnny, thank you, man.
Thank you. Some brilliant final words there. So a massive thank you for coming on today, Dr. Mike, and for everything you're doing for the world as well.
Thanks, Johnny. Appreciate it.
Thank you. So that concludes our episode for today. And remember to lead with your heart, not with fear.